In this section we're going to look at type and how we can achieve font styles and paragraph styles. Here on my double page spread I've got the left page at the moment that's divided into 2 columns, and the right page which has got a couple of images and is also divided into 2 columns. I'm going to go with the left page first and just look at the type tools. So the type tool is in the toolbar on the left. So here, if I click on it, you can see that I now have a text type marker by the cursor. I need to draw a box to type in, so I'm just going to drag out a box along my column margins there. And then you'll see the little flashing marker has come up so that I can start typing. So I've typed in there. That's really tiny, and if you look at the options bar you can see that the font is Minion Pro and the type size is 12 points, so that's what it has come in as automatically. So just as in Word and Photoshop and PowerPoint and most of the other desktop publishing type material you've used, you can change that. So if I select the piece of typing there and click on the bar, I can choose from a range of typefaces. And I can also change the size, so I can scale it up. Also, as in Photoshop and Word, I can change the colour, so I can just choose from a range of colours already in the panel there, or if I double click on the T I can use the colour sliders or add colour codes in exactly the same way as I did in Photoshop. There are lots of other parameters here in the options bar, and we will look at those as we're going through. But for now, that is my first little bit of typing there. I'm going to now make I'm going to make a larger amount of typing this time. So if I come back to the text tool, I'm going to draw a nice big box there. And this time, rather than type in all these words myself, I'm going to use what's called a placeholder text. So you won't have all the words yet for your retail report, or if you're year 2, you'll be whatever you're doing instead. You'll be putting those in as you go along, but you want everything ready so that you've got a placeholder, so you can just put those words in when you've got them. So I'm going to use something called autofill. If I click on type in the menu at the top here and choose fill with placeholder text, I just zoom in, you can see that Indesign has filled my text box with some gobbledygook, which is a digital placeholding language really that is based roughly on the pattern of English and Latin based languages. So it fits in the same way. So it doesn't actually make any sense, but it gives me something to work with, and I can see now how my page is going to look once the words are in. So from there I can change the size of my text box and think about where I'm going to put it to see how things lay out. And I can start looking at some of the options across the top here. So X and Y are literally where the text box is in the page. So if I change the x-axis measurement, it will move across. If I change the y, it will move up or down. and Z on the keyboard to step that back. Width and height work as you'd expect. I can change the width or the height of my text box, but it is just as easy to grab the handles and drag, so that's a bit of an obsolete way of doing it. It's much more visual to grab it in person. Constrained proportions for width and height will just keep the text box proportional. Scaling to a percentage we can ignore. The angle sign will angle the text to wherever we decide to go. Shear will drag it into a sort of skewed position, so again you probably won't. I'll just reset it by typing Alt. Got various rotate tools and flip tools, should we want to flip it. The little icon there shows us what we've done, so when we've lost it we can get it back again. Stroke and fill, only the stroke applies to typeface, and I need to have it selected, so I would need to go to the T, select the area that I want to change the colour of, and choose a colour. And there's no fill on typeface. Character styles we will come back to. Justify is the same as it would be on Word or Photoshop, so centre align, right align, align with the spine, left align, align and spread, and align and stretch the end of the spine. I'm working on a small screened laptop. If you're working on a larger screen, you would see more information, more parameters and more boxes out to the right here. But we can ignore them for now. So these icons here show that we're in the character formatting controls. If I choose the one underneath, the paragraph formatting controls, this gives us in some ways quite a similar set of options, and we'll come back to those. The one I particularly want to look at is this one here, hyphenate. So at the moment you can see that whenever InDesign gets to the end of a word, if there isn't enough room to fit it in, I know this is a nonsense word, so it's not the best example, but it hyphenates, it adds a little dash, and then the rest of the word is on the next line down here. We don't like to do that because it's not really good practice for reading, so I just select my area. I can turn off the hyphenate, and that will just remove that problem and put all the words and make sure that all the letters of one word are on the same row. So I'm going to go back to the character builder there and recolour. Next I'm going to select my columns using the selection tool. So if I just click on there, you can see the box is selected. It's got the handles around the edges there. I'm going to look at these controls here. So in here I can choose the number of columns. So I've already chosen 2 columns for my layout so that I can see what's going on. but I can change that for my text layout. So I can make 2 columns, 3 columns, 4 columns, 5, whatever. And here I can change the gutter margin between the columns. I can also choose to equally balance the columns or have an imbalance. So I might have 1.5 columns of writing. I might want it equal. Other options in there like italics, subscript, and so on. I'll come to the paragraph format box again. And I've got some nice options for making simple changes that look nice. So here I've got a letter resize indent. So that will take the first letter of any paragraph and size it up. And that can sometimes look really nice. I could also choose to add a number of letters from the word. One other thing I do want to mention is this little cross box here. So whenever your text that you've copied and pasted in is too big for the box that you've made for it, either because the text size that you've chosen is too big or because you just have too many words to ever fit on a page, you'll get this plus sign here. And that means that you'll need to extend your box or shrink your writing, or you can do a link into another box. So I'm going to move over the page. And I can just choose to link that and put it in here. Yeah, delete this. Make a new text box and again fill it with placeholder text. At the moment, every time I start any writing at all on any page, it's bringing it in its default option. So for me that is Minium Pro at 12 points. And I might want a different text option. Not only that, I might want the same different text option repeatedly throughout my project. I don't really want to have to go in and change that each time. So if I change this Minium Pro to something else, and when I come in and do another text box, it's reverted back to Minium Pro, so that's its default. So I can change that by creating a style. If I go to the paragraph option here, I can choose to make, if I click on the paragraph style option here, I can choose to make a new style. I can give this a name, so this is my project style. And then I can just go in and change my basic characters to what I want. So I like something I can read, so Calibri is always a nice one for me. And I might want to make it a little bit bigger. This is going to work for all the typeface that I use unless I individually change a paragraph. There are some other changes I can make in there if I wanted to scale it up or down or skew. If I wanted to permanently change the indents and spacing and a whole lot of other things. I can set a permanent border. And I can permanently change the colour. Now I can choose my paragraph style from here, and now when I make a box and fill it with placeholder text, it should automatically use my style. I can go back in and change these individually if I want to. But it won't affect the paragraph style that I've made. So I might want to wrap my text around my images. I'm just going to make a text box. There we go. And if I drag that over the top of this first image, you can see literally really that it's laid over the top. And that makes it pretty hard to read. So there are various options for justifying the text. At the moment I've got no text wrap. If I drag my text over, you can see that it's placed on top of the image there, which makes it quite difficult to see. So I can choose up here to, there's no text wrap on there, I can choose to wrap around the bounding box, which is the frame of the image. So for that I would need to select both the text box and the image box. I can wrap that. I can also choose to wrap around the object shape. That looks pretty similar for that because they're both the same. The bounding box and the image are the same shape. If I drag the text down to here and choose to wrap around the object shape, you can see that's a much more obvious fit. The other option there is to jump the object. So if I select the text and the object image, it's literally jumped the object and added the text to the bottom there. I may want to then move on to the next page using the little plus sign and carry it on. So one more thing you might like to do is to type along a path. out of there. I could choose my shape here, and I can choose the type along the path tool, which is in the type tool menu. Right click on the type tool, choose type along the path. And if I just come and hover over the edge of my circle there, you can see a little plus sign. If I click on that, I've now got the type marker up. You can just type. I select that now and come back to the character menu. I can increase the size. And I can change the colour there as well. Do the same by making my own path with shapes, or I could use the pen tool and make a more specific path. So a little bit of troubleshooting. Generally, problems you have putting text into InDesign are that you've selected the type tool but haven't drawn a box, so you're then just trying to type straight into an empty space. You need to select the type tool, draw the box, and then you can type. Okay, so today's exercise is to take the images that you did last week and start making some placeholder text around them. So you've really got some kind of layout that you can drop your retail report information into when you have finished. And this is an ongoing project, so you'll be needing it again next week. So make sure when you're finished you say File, Save As, name it, and then choose whether you're going to use it on the same computer again next week, in which case you can save it as a 2019 document or 2020 if that's what you're using. If you're likely to have to switch computers to something that's got an earlier version, make sure you choose InDesign CS4 or later, IDML. And make sure your document is in with your images.